here with Chris Canty. We're talking last night, football game, big one. Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs, Phillip Rivers and the Chargers. We'll pick this game up in the fourth. Less than 4 minutes to go. Chargers down 14. Justin Jackson in for the injured Melvin Gordon. Cuts the lead to 7. Chiefs have a chance to put it away, but Pat Mahomes takes the sack. Chargers get the ball back. Rivers connects on the 31-yard pass play to Travis Benjamin. Mahomes and Travis Kelce trying to fire up that Chiefs crowd on 4th down, but Rivers has other plans. This time it's Benjamin again. Picks up the 4th and 8. All right, 3rd down now, 13 seconds left. Rivers cannot connect with Mike Williams, but hold on. They call the Chiefs for a pass interference. Pass interference, Chiefs. Next play, Rivers finds Mike Williams in the end zone. That is a touchdown. Why tie when you can go for the win? They go for 2 and the win. It is Mike Williams again. As the Chargers win 29-28, they improve to 11-3 on the season. Chiefs blow the 14-point lead. Here's Chargers head coach Lynn on the decision to go for the win.
We came here to tie. We came here to win. And so to me, it was a no-brainer.
I was going to the sideline, going to overtime. And Coach Lynn said, let's go win it right now. Let's go for 2. Let's go win it right now. And when he said that, there was so much conviction from him. It was, yeah, let's go win it right now. I mean, it was immediately turn around, let's go win it. I mean, and if we didn't win it, we didn't win it. But I think his conviction, it wasn't like, oh, should we? It wasn't. It was, no, let's go win the game.
There's not much you have to say. I mean, everybody feels that feeling. I mean, they want to get back out there tomorrow. So we're going to have a long 10 days. We're going to Seattle, which, I mean, it's a tough place to play. They're playing really good football right now. And so we're going to just recuperate, see what we did well and see what we didn't do so well, and find ways to use this as fuel as to go out there and win these next 2 games and then get into the playoffs.
All right, Chris Canty, let's talk about this from the Chiefs' perspective. What did you learn about this Kansas City team after their loss last night?
Well, for all the things that Kansas City does very well, they need some work on their 4-minute offense. Because if you can't control the end of the game and being able to run out the clock, once we start getting into the postseason football, January schedule, like that.
Why is it important, a 4-minute offense? A lot of times we talk all different, offense, defense, but why is that 4-minute offense that important in the NFL?
Because you want to be able to limit the opportunities that the opposing team has to get back in the game. So when you start talking about a situation where it's win or go home, you've got to be able to control the clock and not give them another opportunity to get back on the field and tie it or take the lead. So I think that's one of the things that we have to be concerned about with this Kansas City Chiefs team, because from a football philosophy standpoint, they want to play basketball on grass. They want to spread it out and throw the ball all over the yard, but that mentality doesn't necessarily lend itself to being able to play smash mouth football when the weather turns a little bit colder and when the field gets a little bit tighter, just because teams understand what you're trying to do. That's another thing that you have to think about with this Chiefs team. Back-to-back weeks being held under 30 points. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think people are starting to understand what they're trying to do in terms of their concepts, and they're finding ways to neutralize this offense. I mean, when you start getting all this tape on this Chiefs team, I think you're finding ways to be able to slow them down. And so what's your answer to that now for your football team? Because I look at the Chiefs, and without Kareem Hunt, I don't know if they necessarily have that physical identity that they're going to need to be able to win in the postseason.
So I've got concerns from last night, but they're not similar to yours. They're not about the offense. They listen, what happened at the end, you're talking about the 4-minute offense. They have a penalty on the kickoff. They're backed up. They call a running play on 1st down. They need 1 foot.
What kind of running play did they call?
They called an inside run, and they're back up left guard got beat. Cameron Irving, I said before the game, he was out. He got beat. Now you're in 2nd and 13, and there it is. And so that you're going to get beat on plays like this. And then they get 5 yards on 2nd down, and then their backup tight end gets a false start. And now you're in 3rd and 13, and it backs you up like that. So I don't think the Chiefs systemically have a problem on offense. You're right, they have been held under 30 in back-to-back weeks. They also became yesterday the first team in NFL history through first 14 weeks of the season to score at least 26 in every single game. I think the problem is that secondary. And you saw 4th and 8. Get off the field, you win the football game. They had a 4th and goal the drive before. They commit an obvious defensive holding. They have 3rd and 10, and they commit pass interference. It's a ticky-tack pass interference, but they commit it. The secondary, to me, is a huge problem because the Chiefs have an excellent pass rush. Chris Jones was a monster. When you have a pass rush that good, that should help your secondary. And the secondary was carved up. So I have concerns, and the concern that their air of invincibility at home got punctured last night, and that could have lasting effects into the postseason.
Well, you should be concerned about their secondary, but the way you wouldn't smell the secondary is if you had a 4-minute offense.
They wouldn't be on the field.
If I shore up the physical part of this, all right, they're not going to be out there as long, all right? So that's the way you're able to, because those secondary, I don't trust them against no quarterback in the AFC. So the only way to build, because that's not going to change.
But they knew that coming into the season.
Yes, and the only way to be able to change that is be able to change the offense. Because the reason why I asked you that question was because everyone knew they were going to run the ball. And the Chiefs' problem now that they did not have when Kareem Hunt was there was, even if you knew they were going to run the ball, he's an elite runner. He also has power between the tackles. So you mentioned it. They ran off tackle. It was not even a plan because you don't do that from that formation. So the big problem is they don't have a plan to win these games. You know what they're going to try to do? Keep shooting them threes, and that's it. And in the NFL, that's how teams come back on you. It happens in college football all the time because they don't have a running game and they can't eat up that clock. We don't see that typically in the NFL. When you have a 2-touchdown lead in the second half, typically you're going to be able to get to the finish line because every team knows I must have a good 4-minute offense, and I have to be able to run the ball for at least 1 first down. Or if you don't have any running game, I don't mind if you throw it 3 times, but have a plan. And they did not have a plan, which in turn exploits that secondary.
Yeah, CC, I mean, going into last night's games, Andy Reid teams were 39-0 when they have a 2-touchdown lead. So that was the first time that they lost when they had that 2-touchdown lead. And you look at that, you had 4 minutes left to go in the game, and you blew that lead. So, I mean, I look at this and say, you've got to think about what your football team is doing and come up with ways to be able to control the clock at the end of the game. Otherwise, they're not going to end up where they want to be.
But here's the other concern, because that 39-0 stat is for the regular season. Because I'll tell you a time they blew a 2-touchdown lead at home under Andy Reid last year in the playoffs. I'll tell you another time they blew a 2-touchdown lead.
Yeah, but that memory is not going to affect this team. What happened last night will affect these young players who have not had any type of success. Now, it might affect the fans because I believe Kansas City fans are going to be fair weather. All right, because if it's not going, if they don't have the momentum, they're going to be thinking about what happened. And the younger players, it hadn't happened to them.
Well, I think fair weather is not the word I would use. What I think they're going to be, you could feel it. They got nervous. The moment they punted the ball to the Chargers, that stadium thought, oh, we're going to lose this game. And I think they thought they were going to lose just like that. And there's a reason for it. You mentioned, I said 2-touchdown lead to the Titans, a 4-touchdown lead to the Colts in the playoffs. Like the Chiefs, there's a reason they haven't won a home playoff game since Joe Montana was the quarterback. And the way they've lost after a bye, after 13-3 and 12-4 seasons in that stadium, you felt that. You could feel, I talked to some of my friends that were at that game. You felt the air sucked out of the crowd when the Chiefs still had a lead. And I don't know if the players can feel that on the field, but I know that the stadium noise isn't the same, and it felt like the Chargers were winning the game before they actually had taken the lead. That is a concern as well, because this year, Arrowhead has a sense of invincibility that's gone now.
What's the one thing we've been talking about Patrick Mahomes? He's great, and the but is always, but we have to see him in all these different situations to know what he really can do. It's easy when you're in the lead. It's easy when your offense is putting up a ton of points. Was last night's last couple of minutes a big but? You know, let's see how you can handle a 4-minute offense. Let's see how you can handle having an easy 14-point lead and then losing it and then bringing your team back. Was it a little bit of a test for a young quarterback?
If Patty Mahomes can take a book from Steph Curry, because Steph Curry, before he warms up for the game, he does amazing things. He does things that typically you're not going to see in the game, but every once in a while, Steph Curry will show off. He'll have a shot in the game. You'll be like, wow, that's a bad shot. But when it gets big time, when it gets crunch time, Steph Curry doesn't take those bad shots. He don't take them circus shots. Will Patrick Mahomes be always consumed with making the great play compared to making the more conservative and the right play for that moment. Those are things that I'm going to watch. Last night, late in the game, he passed up some shallow crosses to try to drive the ball down the field, which they weren't able to convert first down. So as a football person, I want to be able to see that. Will he be just as satisfied with just dinking and dunking when it's called for compared to trying to always make the big play? Because when people compare you to Brett Favre, they do that for good and also for bad.
You're totally right that he's going to have to what we saw in the Rams game at the end, down 3, all 3 timeouts, minute and a half, and he went for the kill shot instead of just taking the profit like you were saying. But that's not what happened yesterday. Yesterday they had the ball 4 times in the second half. They scored 2 touchdowns. The one drive they didn't score a touchdown. It was 3rd and short. He tried to take the profit. See, he threw it to Kelsey.
Okay, there was a play before that where Kelsey passed on the right to the shallow cross. He passed it up and threw to the other receiver on the on a deeper hook. Okay, so there was instances last night, and I've seen players like him before. They have to continue to do it under the gun, because what is the typical? Canty, when you're under the gun, your natural reaction is to go, what is natural for you? And that is to take chances. So
until you do it, you don't necessarily know you can do it. You think you can, but it's the difference between thinking and knowing. And in that situation, Pat Mahomes has not proven that he's capable of doing it.
Understood, but in the 4-minute drive, they called, there was one pass.
I'm not talking about the 4 minutes. I'm talking about before that.
Right.
They were leading the game the whole game.
They were leading the game.
So you can still make a conservative play earlier in the game. It doesn't mean it have to be in the 4-minute or in the 4th quarter. There are times quarterbacks have to be conservative. And for me, watching him, he's going to have to prove to me that he's okay with doing that.
All right, we've got to take a break. Chris, thank you. Coming up, James Harden went off against the Lakers. Let's talk some basketball ahead on First Things First.